Okay, let's jump right into this explainer because today we're unpacking what is honestly one of the most profound paradigm shifts in modern military history. We are talking about the integration of artificial intelligence into military decision-making. We're literally witnessing a fundamental alteration in the landscape of warfare. It's a shift that forces us to completely reevaluate the ethical frameworks we've relied on for centuries in the face of some seriously cutting-edge tech. It's a fascinating, complex topic that sits right at the intersection of law, philosophy, and advanced computer science.
But before we get bogged down in the weeds of the technology itself, we have to start with this incredibly heavy opening question. I really want you to think about this for a second. What happens when machines move from simply assisting humans in war to actually replacing them? I mean, for centuries, military tech has been all about making humans more efficient, right? But now, we're talking about delegating lethal force to an algorithm. It is a massive philosophical and operational dilemma, and honestly, it's the core of everything we're going to dig into today.
To make sense of all this, here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, the evolution of autonomy. Second, the rules of war. Third, the chaos of reality. Fourth, AI on the battlefield. And finally, number 5, the responsibility gap. All right, part 1, the evolution of autonomy, from calculators to AI judgment.
Think back to the early 1900s. Military tech at that time was all about mechanization. Think of mechanical calculators used for artillery, stuff that simply augmented what a human was already doing. Then, fast forward to the late 1900s, and we shifted to automation. This is where we saw early unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, taking over specific tasks to replace human labor. But here's the key. The human was always in the loop. A real person still pulled the trigger. But step into the 2020s and beyond, and we enter the era of true autonomy. We are talking about AI algorithms that can process massive, incredibly complex data sets, identify targets, and then act completely on their own. The big takeaway here is this massive qualitative leap. We're moving from machines that just assist human decision-makers to highly sophisticated neural networks that might replace human judgment entirely during the most critical, irreversible moments of a conflict.
Moving on to part 2, the rules of war, just war theory, and international humanitarian law.
Get this, there is a piece of international humanitarian law originating all the way back in 1899 called the Martin's Clause, and it is actually deeply relevant to artificial intelligence today. It basically states that even if no specific treaty outlaws a new weapon, deploying it might still be illegal if it violates fundamental humanitarian principles and the dictates of public conscience. Think about that specific phrase for a second, the dictates of public conscience. It essentially means that the collective, gut-level unease we all naturally feel about machines making life-or-death decisions actually carries profound legal weight on the international stage.
Now, military ethicists tend to debate autonomy across 3 distinct levels of what they call meaningful human control. Step 1 is human in the loop. That's direct human supervision for every single decision. Step 2 is human on the loop. Here, the machine acts autonomously, but a human is actively supervising and can override the system if needed within a specific time frame. And then there's step 3, human out of the loop. This is full autonomy without any direct oversight in the engagement process. The really terrifying problem we face today is that AI operates so incredibly fast that humans might simply lack the cognitive processing time to intervene. That sheer blinding speed effectively forces us from step 2 into step 3, whether military commanders wanted to or not.
Which brings us to part 3, the chaos of reality, theory versus the fog of war.
When we take those neat, rigid rules of war and smash them into the limits of an algorithm, the challenges become incredibly obvious. Let's look at discrimination, the foundational rule that a soldier has to distinguish between a combatant and a civilian. Well, AI struggles mightily with camouflage, deception, and dual-use objects. To a pixel-scanning algorithm, a farmer carrying a shovel over his shoulder could look exactly like an insurgent carrying a rifle. Then there's proportionality. The rule here is that the anticipated military advantage of a strike has to heavily outweigh the incidental civilian harm. But how on earth does an AI quantify or weigh the subjective moral value of human suffering? It can't. And military necessity? An AI interprets necessity strictly through program statistics and predefined parameters. It completely misses the broader ethical context of a situation, like the subtle, very human nuances of an enemy attempting to surrender.
The crucial point here is the stark difference in how we reason versus how a machine processes. Human moral reasoning is inherently contextual. We have empathy, we grasp nuance, and crucially, we possess common sense, which allows us to adapt to bizarre, unexpected situations. Algorithmic opacity, on the other hand, what we often call the black box, is entirely data-dependent. It utterly lacks common sense. It's making decisions based on complex, highly statistical deep learning models. Honestly, a lot of the time, the very engineers who built the system don't even know exactly why the AI made the decision it did. When a human soldier adapts, they use their life experience. When an AI adapts, they relies completely on its training data, which could easily contain blind spots or deadly biases.
And that intense reliance on training data leads directly to what's known as the edge case problem. Because AI is trained on historical data, these systems are remarkably brittle. They can fail unpredictably and spectacularly when facing rare, novel situations that just weren't in their training sets. Think about the fog of war. It's literally nothing but edge cases. Imagine an AI encountering a completely novel adversary posture, like an enemy using a makeshift vehicle or some bizarre, never-before-seen tactical formation. Without human common sense to pause and reassess, the AI might completely misclassify the threat, leading to catastrophic actions. In a high-stakes combat environment, that kind of brittleness is absolutely terrifying.
All right, part 4, AI on the battlefield, current and emerging case studies.
Because listen, AI isn't just some futuristic concept anymore. It's already here, fundamentally reshaping operations across multiple domains right now. First up, ISR automation, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. AI dramatically speeds up target recognition. It can effortlessly scan miles of drone footage in mere seconds, but it is still highly prone to false positives. Second, autonomous navigation. Unmanned ground and aerial vehicles are navigating complex, hostile terrain today. But what happens when they encounter enemy forces and lose their signal to base? Who gives them engagement authority? Third, swarming tech. Picture this: dozens of highly coordinated drones acting as a single hive mind entity. They can easily overwhelm traditional defenses, for sure, but they heavily complicate human command and control. Finally, cyber warfare. Autonomous AI agents are out there attacking and defending digital networks at machine speed, which creates this severe risk of rapid, unmanageable escalation. So, militaries are constantly having to balance these massive operational advantages, like unparalleled speed, with the severe ethical nuances present in every single application. Finally, we reach part 5, the responsibility gap, the legal and moral dilemma.
Let's really break down this concept of the responsibility gap. Imagine the absolute worst-case scenario. An autonomous system misidentifies a target on the battlefield and commits a war crime, causing unlawful harm. Who is to blame? Is it the programmer sitting in a tech hub who wrote the code 5 years ago? Is it the commander on the ground who authorized the drone's deployment, even though they couldn't possibly predict the black box's output? Is it the defense manufacturer? Or is the system itself somehow to blame? Traditional military law is built entirely on human accountability, holding commanders responsible for the actions of their subordinates. But the distributed, complex, incredibly opaque nature of AI completely shatters that traditional framework. If no single human actor can be definitively held accountable, the very foundation of justice in war begins to crumble.
Which brings us right back to the core issue. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this single, powerful question. When a machine makes a life or death decision, who is held responsible? As global militaries chase the undeniable allure of enhanced efficiency, we have to make absolutely sure we don't engineer our own accountability and our own humanity right out of the equation. This technology is not going away, which means grappling with these operational realities is up to all of us. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning.